the General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU for short. Zwelinzima Vavi, good morning to you and thank you very much for your time. The ministers in the security cluster, they are labeling this as a regime change agenda based on unconstitutional means. Do you agree with that description or characterization of what is planned for Monday? And, by the way, do you still plan to partake in it?
We are participating in the national shutdown on the 20th. The conditions that we have set have been met by the EFF, that Monday will not be a sectarian protest. It will allow, and it is currently being organized by as many of the working class parties and organizations as it is possible in order to communicate a message to the powers, the governing party as a whole, that we have had enough of the situation that we're currently facing in our country. That's the first point.
Yeah.
So yes, we are participating. And secondly, we are participating because we are advancing our own demands as workers organized under SAFTU, and generally as the working class as a whole. We've had enough of the current crisis of unemployment that is breaking all of the world records. We're sitting with position number 1 in terms of unemployment. Generally, we're sitting with a second position of having the worst youth unemployment in the whole world. We're sitting with the third world position of being the most unequal society. And I guess if we were to check the numbers of people dying in our country every single day through violence, we should be sitting on number 1. There's a low-intensity war that is unfolding in our country. Minister Bheki Cele's department has led the country into a situation where 82 people die every single day violently in the streets of our country.
Mr. Vavi,
yes, we are meeting on Monday.
All right. I'm sorry to hurry this process through, but that parliamentary sitting is ongoing. Let's quickly touch on this then. Have all unions under the SAFTU fold endorsed the participation into this strike?
Every SAFTU affiliate participated in the National Executive Committee that took a decision unanimously to participate in the action on the 20th. Every SAFTU province participated in that discussion and decision.
Yeah.
Not a single of our union held a different view. And that's why we are proceeding as a united force, and we're starting by picketing in the Pretoria High Court in support of the NUMSA application, and that we've seen enough of the load shedding firstly, and that the regulations that are being imposed on the country are not necessary to allow government to do what it should do to address the issues that we have raised in a separate application. That government must be forced to develop a plan to exclude hospitals, schools, police stations, mortuaries, small businesses from load shedding. So we are at one. And I know that there are people who are planting a view that we are not at one. We are at one. There is not a single dissenting view in the Federation about the need to participate. And continuously, we have had a shutdown on the 24th of August last year. We will continue to participate on this one on the 24th, and we will do so until the direction the country is taking is changed into something livable.
Yeah. Final question to you, Mr. Vavi. Do you not run the risk as a federation of workers? Do you not run the risk, and I know I'm politicizing this now, but do you not run the risk of being seen as being weak, and therefore, instead of instead of coming up with your own march against the very issues that the EFF is going to be marching on, you have decided to throw in your lot with a political party, and therefore, if this strike becomes the most massive that this country has ever seen, is that not going to be a reflection on the less and less power of workers in the country? That's just a question I'm putting to you.
Thank you for that question, Dolly. We were in the streets on the 24th of August. We are in the streets every time the budget speech is provided, protesting against the austerity program. We were in the streets on the 25th of April in 2018 and 2017 to protest against the imposition of a poverty digital minimum wage. We are fighting almost every day. We have been staging sit-ins, which we have covered, outside the ESCOM offices to demand the resignation of the director. We're happy that is gone. This is us. This is how we have defined our federation as a militant, fighting, campaigning, independent, democratic and worker-controlled federation of workers. We are not weak. We are a campaigning federation. And above all, we have stated over and over that as long as we still are sectarian in our approach to struggle, as long as we're still fighting isolated battles against the mighty state and the ruling class, the capitalist class in our society, we will not make any progress. The only way forward for SAFTU and every progressive formation is to hold hands, to join each other. Every day we are demonstrating to communicate a message of a more united front. We see this Monday protest as offering us an opportunity to begin a process of developing a minimum program of the working class organization, the progressive political formations, working class organizations who can agree on what are the minimum things that we should agree upon to advance our objectives of ensuring that we address the crisis of load shedding, privatization, the crisis of youth unemployment, of the drugs afflicting our young people, of the dysfunctional education, public health institution, police stations, correctional services, of the vacancies that lie vacant for many years, leading to the crisis
Mr.
that
Vavi,
we see at as well as in our public hospitals.
Mr. Vavi, you have mentioned a number of protests, but then in the same equation, you mentioned that it is possibly part of the fighting campaign or the militancy of the unions that would have led to Andre de Ruyter leaving. We all know that de Ruyter left on his own accord at ESCOM. And let me also bring you up to speed with the Nehao process. The workers have now been told to go back to their posts. The work no pay rule applies, which means that they will have lost some money. And they go back to their posts, by the way, without something that is in numbers written down. Instead, they're going back to the negotiating table. So make me understand these gains that you are saying workers are making. I hope you understand why I'm making all of this case here, in order for the unions to not be seen as weak if this EFF-led strike becomes the most powerful the country has ever seen.
Workers have been protesting and winning many gains, even post the 1994 breakthrough in terms of its democracy. If it was not because of the unity of workers in the TAC, the 7 million people that are currently on antiretrovirals would have died. If it was not because of the unity of workers and the student movement, there would have been no free education, even in a limited way, in the higher education institutions. If it was not because of the unity of workers and the students, the workers who have been insourced at all the universities would still be employed by the labor brokering system. If it was not because of our consistent noises that we have been placing, this government would have not leaned on the raters to resign. The raters didn't resign out of his own evolution. He was under an immense pressure from the working class. So you can't tell us fully that mass action protests do not work. There are big results in South Africa that show that mass action and demonstrations do work if you do that consistently. Lastly, how and the public sector workers, even our workers, before they could even get certificates to participated in the Nihao strike. You can't tell us that that was inconsequential. You can't tell us that it was not because of that mass pressure by the unions that led government to revise its offer to the public sector workers from a 4.7% to 7% before negotiations can start. That's the result of mass demonstrations that we saw last week, and you can't tell us that those workers were just showing signs of weaknesses organizationally. It was a sign of power that delivers.
Zwelinzima Vavi, the General Secretary of SAFTU, thank you very much for your time. Let's take you